You only have 3 days a week you could work out in the gym. What is the best kind of workout those 3 days a week to build muscle, burn body fat, and get lean? What is it? Well, I'll start with the first one. If your goal is simply aesthetic, you just want to look good, that's the main goal, it's going to be full body strength training on those 3 days. By the way, we have more suggestions for different goals, but let's start with that one.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's typically what our recommendation is for the average person, considering that that's what most people want to do. Yes. Most people that want to get in shape, what they mean by that is they want to look better, right? I want to look better. Of course, I want to feel better. That comes with those things. But I don't know. When I look back at all the clients that hired me, almost all of them were concerned about aesthetics.
Yeah, they want to improve their physique, and they want to be defined and have muscles that presents well.
Yeah, and here's the other part of it, by the way. To be clear, it doesn't mean you're not going to be improve your health dramatically.
Right,
it doesn't mean you're not going to.
That comes with that.
It comes with it. However, if your primary goal is like, I really want to see visible change, strength training is, it's akin to a sculptor working with a piece of clay. It's really the only form of exercise where I could target shape my body. Other forms of exercise, although they improve health and athletic performance, aren't nearly as specific or targeted. Like I could think of 4 different exercises for each part of my body, or I could think of 10 exercises that will help accomplish a particular look. Like you want a rounder butt, you want a waist that comes in a little bit, you want better posture, you want more definition or shape in your arms or your quads or your hamstrings or whatever. Strength training allows you to target parts of your body and develop more versus the others and literally change the shape of your body. It also makes fat loss easier. And of course, body fat to an extent, right? And I say to an extent because you need to have some body fat, but to an extent, being leaner or relatively lean, most people would agree looks good, right? So for men, that's probably around, a nice fit body fat percentage probably sits around 14, 15%. For women, it's around 20%. Strength training is a really easy, in comparison to other forms of exercise, easy way to maintain fat loss. So if it's like aesthetics, which that's 100% why I said that, Adam, every client I'd ever hired, although my job as a trainer was to help them connect the dots to health and longevity and sleep and libido, like the truth is people really just want to see the visual result, and strength training just produces that more than anything else.
I mean, I love this conversation too because it highlights, if you've listened to us answer questions, a lot of times someone will ask like a direct question, and we rarely ever just answer the direct question. We tend to always put it back on the person and say, well, what do you want to do?
Yes.
Because that same person who might ask of a specific question about, is this exercise better than that, or should I do this, isn't enough information for me, because you might also have performance goals or longevity goals or pain is trying to solve. And so when that is added to the equation, my thought process on the programming now changes.
Totally. Yeah.
Like if all you care about is just aesthetics, like, okay, yeah, that's a pretty simple kind of formula of, 3 days a week, we're going to full body. And within that, of course, there's some minor tweaks, but that's a pretty good, scaffold to what we're going to do. But as soon as you start adding in other things like longevity, performance, specific goals that you want to also obtain, like now the programming starts to change.
It's no different than if I went to you, Adam, and I said, what's the best car for me to get? You don't know if I want a car.
Do you want comfort? Do you want straight line speed? Do you want handling on that?
Am I trying to transport my family of 6?
Yeah.
Am I trying to save gas? Am I going off road? Is this because I'm going off road? Yeah. Or is it to look cool? I want to look really cool. Is it for luxury? Like you have no idea, and so to give me the correct answer is almost impossible without more information, and that's the case here. But aesthetics is the number one goal for most people. If they're being honest, they have other secondary goals, but people tend to get motivated. And later on, it does change as people stick with it long enough. They start to find more value in other things. But initially, especially, it's like, if I ask somebody, what are your goals? And I dig a little deeper, 9 out of 10 people will have an aesthetic component. Well, I want a flatter midsection, or I want, more muscle here, or more shape there, or I want to have more sculpt or whatever. And strength training just does that. By the way, it's full body.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. It's full body. It's not split.
No.
Right? Which you said that deliberately because of what we've found in our own experience training clients as well. It's there's a couple factors there in terms of getting the right volume for all the different body parts, but then also the rest in between. And a lot of times we tend to overdo it. We overtrain when we just focus on that one muscle group for an entire day.
Yes.
There's also the thing that we're factoring in there that we're not really talking about too is human behavior and the fact that people are going to miss workouts here and there.
Yep.
Right. And when you know that, and you know somebody's goal is aesthetics, and we know that one of the ways to build the most aesthetic physique is balance with the way you training volume and attention to all the muscles. And so if I have somebody on a 3-day-a-week full body routine, and with the inevitable happens, right, which is they miss some days, it's not a big deal because we're always staying balanced with the way that we train.
Yeah, so to just go deeper on that, right? So how many weeks are there in a year? Does anybody know that?
52.
Okay, there's 52 weeks in a year, and let's just say your goal is to work out 3 days out of all of those weeks, right? So that's 156 workouts. So 156 workouts if you're perfect week in and week out, 3 days a week. Now, what the data will show, and we'll often get this, and I can argue against this as well, but I'm just going to, for argument's sake, I'm going to give them this one. What they'll say, what the data shows, is if the volume is controlled, then if you train a body part once or twice a week, it doesn't make a difference versus 3 days a week. In other words, if I did 9 sets for legs on Monday, that would give me similar results than if I did 3 sets on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So same total sets, although I can argue against it and I can do it effectively. I'm not going to do it here. I'll give that to you. Fine. 9 sets on Monday is the same as 3 on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But I don't know anybody except for the most dedicated lunatic fitness enthusiast that doesn't miss workouts here and there. So let's say 10%, which is very little. Most people miss 20%. But let's say 10% of those 156 workouts is missed. You've missed 15 workouts in the year, and what tends to happen
is a body part is neglected.
It's the one you miss is the one you kind of like the least.
Yeah,
so
and the one you probably need the most for a balanced aesthetic.
That's
physique.
right. So it's leg day for guys or shoulders for arms for girls, whatever, right? So what ends up happening is you end up developing a less balanced body. You don't train the body as appropriately versus I'm hitting my whole body Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I miss one workout, I still hit my whole body. If I miss 2 workouts, I still hit my whole body.
Yep.
So 3 days a week full body is ideal in this case. By the way, what you're probably looking at for most people, and this would take you 3 to 5 years in terms of progress. I'm not making this up. For 3 to 5 years, this structure, and there's a little more detail needed, but this kind of structure, 3 days a week full body, would give you great progress, relatively consistent over 3 to 5 years. So for anybody listening who's like, oh, I need a more advanced routine, let's talk about that 3 years from now when you've been consistent, or 5 years from now when you've been consistent. But what your workout will typically look like is 4 to 5 exercises each one of those days. Mm-hmm. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're doing about 4 to 5 exercises each of those days. You're focusing on the big gross motor movements each time. You're not doing these little isolation exercises unless there's a specific area you want to add a little volume to. And you're great. You're doing great. So that's like the perfect general routine for just aesthetics. Now, what if your goal is longevity, right? What if your goal is like looking good is great, but what I want is, and I'll use a different word. Dr. Seeds actually corrected me the other day. I was on the phone with him talking about his peptide congress coming up in Las Vegas. And I was talking about strength training and longevity, which is going to be part of my talk there. And he goes, I hate that word. I said, why? And he goes, longevity refers to how long you're alive. He goes, or how long until you're not dead. He goes, I want to know how long you're healthy,
vitality,
and vibrant,
the quality of your life.
So he calls it health span, which I like better, right?
Okay.
So let's say your goal is overall health span, like staying healthy, mobile, functional, independent for as long as possible. Well, then what does a routine look like? I would say 1 day a week devoted to strength training, full body, 1 day a week devoted to endurance and stamina, and then 1 day a week that's completely devoted to mobility. I think that's a nice, balanced,
I love that.
3 day
checks all the boxes for sure.
Yes, that's going to kind of give you everything. By the way, the first workout will also give you longevity or health span, but this one is a little better because of the extra emphasis on endurance and mobility, which are also both important.
By the way, I think it's important because I know somebody's going to, the internet, the way it goes, right? Somebody's going to try and argue or debate a point. There's many ways that this can be put together.
Yeah.
In other words, like you could actually take a endurance component, a mobility component, and a strength component in 3 of the workouts of the week. And instead of but your point is that there needs to be some sort of emphasis put on endurance.
Focus is there.
There needs to be some sort of emphasis put on mobility. And then obviously there's some sort of emphasis put on strength. And if the overall goal is health span or longevity, then that means that you want a probably good even balance of the effort put towards those 3.
Yeah. Now to add a little bit to what you said, if you did all 3 of those in one workout, it would start with mobility, go to strength, finish with endurance.
That's right.
That order works best. But yeah, one day of each, and you're really tackling all of the fitness components that contribute to health span in a very balanced, good way. And I think most people, especially as they get older, or if they've been at it for a long time, they start to value this a little more. Yeah. And you start to see them start to place a little more emphasis on these things, especially mobility. Mobility work is so important. It's recuperative, and it just maintains good movement. So now, what if the goal is athletic performance? What if you're like, look, looking good's cool, health span's cool, but I want to be able to jump, run. I want to be able to move, play with my kids, mountain bike, hike, whatever, on the fly. I want to feel
much more
athletic.
Dynamic demand.
Yes. I would say then 3 days a week would look like this. Some plyo work in the beginning, so some explosive work in the beginning. We'll get into detail with this. 2 strength training lifts, HIIT style cardio for about 10 minutes, and that gives you 3 days a week. And I think that would give you a nice balanced routine that would kind of tackle all those components of athletic performance. Justin, this is your wheelhouse. How do you feel about that?
I like that. And I think that, again, with the acceleration and with the plyometrics, this is where I like that it's in the beginning and it's the focus, and it's fatigue isn't a factor to that, because this is where we have to really re-educate everybody in terms of jumping, and it's really good to maintain that skill, and it's very much of a skill as you age that you want to maintain, as you will in real life encounter a situation where you have to move faster, you have to grab something with acceleration, and so to train that is crucial, that you don't hurt yourself, but also too to try to be the weekend warrior and still do some basketball, do some baseball, do some kind of a sport. You're going to have to train that way, and so that's a big part of it. And then obviously the strength training, we need to maintain the muscle strength, and for us to actually produce and generate that force. And then, movement quality and making sure the joints are functioning properly and reinforced is huge.
So am I getting this correct? You're 3 days a week, you are only doing 2 main lifts in the workout.
Yeah. So you're starting with plyo, doing some lifts, then you finish with HIIT.
About the only thing I would add to that is there would be an emphasis on mobility before plyos.
Sure.
So
a little bit of a mobility warm.
Mobility, priming, getting the body.
On board with that.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what that looks like? 10 minutes of mobility, 10 minutes of plyo, 40 minutes of strength training, 30, 40 minutes of strength training, and then finish with 10 minutes of HIIT.
Yeah.
That's a nice kind of follow-up type
Yeah.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you. Look, are you lifting weights, eating a ton of food, and struggling? You're not packing on any muscle. You're not building any muscle at all. You're not getting stronger. Well, check it out. We have a hard gainer guide. This can be your ultimate resource to turn that around. Pack on some muscle mass with our hard gainer guide. It's totally free. You can get it by downloading it, clicking on the link in the description below. By the way, the plyo, just to emphasize, nobody does plyos right. You're not doing it to fatigue. It's not to get tired. The idea is to learn how to move faster.
Yeah.
So
1 to 3 reps.
Yeah. So if I'm doing like plyo jumps, which is the most common plyo people are familiar with, I'm literally trying to jump as fast and as hard as I can, and I'm going to wait for a while till I feel like, okay, I can go real fast and hard again and do it again. And I'm doing like 3 of them. And then I rest for a while and try again. It's not about being tired. I shouldn't feel soreness in my muscles. I shouldn't feel fatigue. It's about learning how to explode and practice skill. Then you can move on to the more fatigue stuff later.
And I didn't really cover HIIT, but this is really the only place I see it applying. Like, I'm not a big fan of applying HIIT for burning fat.
No.
But in this instance, if I'm trying to maintain athletic performance, if you're actually on the soccer field and you're running explosively for bouts, but you're still having to kind of manage that energy system, this is where HIIT is definitely applies to that, because we're ramping up the intensity, we're backing off, but we're still working on that endurance in that kind of a tempo and fashion.
It gives you athletic-based stamina.
It's very good. It's a good pairing for athletic
and 10 minutes
pursuits.
is plenty if you did it right. It's like sprint for
Yeah.
20 seconds, cruise for 40 seconds, repeat. I mean, that's killer.
It emulates what you do in your sport.
Absolutely.
I mean, what's kind of cool about this conversation too, it highlights a lot of the philosophy behind how we have all these different MAPS programs.
Completely.
And if you are somebody who, man, I want all that. You know, this is why you would cycle through those programs throughout the year. Is that if you we have a program that is focused in one of these areas more than each one of these.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is an example of how you would run, 3 or 4 different MAPS programs throughout the year to obtain each one of these. And then you have the complete package, right? You're always sculpting a little bit. You're always working on some things that are performance related. And then, of course, always keeping in mind health span, longevity in there. And so cycling through all that. I mean, that's the perfect. This is how, like, if I had a client who just came to me and like let me kind of steer those ship. Like they have a lot of these things they'd like to obtain, but they're like, all of it's important. So how do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm taking them through all these cycles throughout the year.
Totally. This is exactly how I trained most of my clients.
Yeah.
Exactly because of what you said, Adam. Once they bought in to my coaching, even if their goal was just aesthetics, I would definitely go through phases of longevity-based training, or definitely go through phases of athletic training, knowing that, hey, look, this person hopefully does this for the rest of their life.
Right.
So, did you guys see? I think you brought this up off air, Justin, as well. Did you guys see the alarming study on microplastics?
Yes.
No.
Oh,
No. More bad stuff.
No. It's not more bad stuff.
It's tying it to Alzheimer's or dementia.
It's the worst. It's the worst thing you can imagine.
Well, I've known that because of Max Lugavere. I remember Max has been screaming that from the rooftops, how bad all the microplastics are that you're getting from. And the biggest offenders are the receipts, the pots and pans.
No,
with Teflon.
those are xenoestrogens. That's a whole other. We're gonna get there too. We'll get there too.
These are all the little microplastics that you're inhaling and ingesting, and so these microplastics make it through your system, make their way into your organs, but a lot of it goes in your brain.
Yes. So
explain this to me, because I actually was under the impression they were like similar, if not the same. Like
No.
you're the kind of waxy plastic on the receipts
No,
and on
that's the chemical.
the Teflon that's on the.
Okay, so there's chemicals that they get absorbed in the skin,
Right.
or through the mouth. Let's say use Teflon and little bits. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so those act like mild hormones in the body, or have hormonal type of effects, or effects that we're not completely aware of or familiar with.
Okay.
But they interact with the body in ways that promote cancers or hormone issues, or lots of things right now that we're connecting to them. They're known as forever chemicals.
Microplastics are like dust.
Microplastics or nanoplastics. So think of like a big factory that's making bottled water.
Yeah.
So it's got the bottles and it fills it with water and it screws the cap on.
Yeah.
Okay. Little bits, little dust of plastic.
Sure, you're
gets in the water.
Yeah, it's gonna
gets in the water.
Like sawdust coming.
Yeah,
off
and
of.
it's you don't even know, you can't even see it.
Right.
The only way you can get it out is like reverse osmosing, osmosis filtering it or whatever. You don't even know, you can't taste it, but it gets in your system. Or breathing it in from manufacturing, from toys, from clothing, from opening packages, from plastic covering, whatever. We're breathing it in. They're finding that they're accumulating in our body, and then here's the
because our body doesn't.
This sucks. This really sucks. Ready for this? I'll read the title of this. Researchers found a spoon's worth of nanoplastics in human brains. Wow. The latest evidence that plastic is accumulating in our bodies. The brain samples had higher levels of plastic than kidney or liver samples. People who died in 2024 had more nanoplastics in brain samples than those who died in 2016. I mean, we're surrounded by the environment that we live in is really not designed to make us healthy, and a lot of it's stuff that we weren't aware of until now. And it's like, how do you back out of some of the stuff? If we eliminated plastic,
how do you avoid it? That's damn near impossible in this environment.
Well, if we eliminated plastic today, more people would die than they would from nanoplastic. To be correct, to be accurate, because we need them. They're really good at containing things. They're very durable. They're not porous. And so we need them, but also doesn't
preventative, like all these things for preventing, dementia and everything that we're alarmed and scared by. It's like it sort of makes it like nil. Like, what are you going to do? Like you can change your diet, you can change a lot of factors, but this is one of those. It just feels like we're just inundated.
Well,
and it's hard to avoid.
Is it, or is it like the xenoestrogens where there are top offenders? Are there things like, for example, I would think drinking out of a plastic bottle of water.
They say that
has to be one of the highest.
Yeah, plastic. A food that's
microwaving.
That's held in plastic.
Yeah,
so like plastic wraps. Is probably another
you
place.
just have to make like radical change because it really is. It's in everything. Like if you look at your house,
I know, but there's got to be
food wrapping.
I'm guilty of this. I remember Doug really calling me on it when we all first got together. It's like, I've been doing the carrying your meals around forever, and I mean the big brand that got super popular, the 6-pack bags. The containers they give you are all plastic containers.
Yeah.
So I'm microwaving in plastic containers.
Yeah.
Like that's a
xenoestrogen.
That's a big.
That's the xenoestrogen one.
That's a big offender. Though.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So there's got to be microplastic big offenders.
Water bottles, and I think is probably one of the big ones that people are aware of. But the other one is you can probably help yourself, I'm assuming, with really good air filters throughout your house.
Yeah.
Because of any of the circulating plastic dust that comes from.
I can see that.
And it comes from
Anything
toys.
that's going to manage
like
dust.
You get your kid a toy, right? That's not real fur on their fur. They're stuffy or whatever. That's all synthetic stuff. So there's gonna be dust on it. That's microplastics that we're all kind of breathing in. Yeah. So I think there are major offenders, but I'd say air filters probably help the most. And then making your body resilient against these things, which is, exercise, diet. What does it say? Synthetic textiles. Wow. Oh, and the ocean. That's different.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's different. I'd like to see what
it's including in the ocean.
It's funny you brought this up because I have a big air filter in my room that we use, and I use it daily. And I was just telling Katrina, I think I'm due to change the filter on that. I don't know how often you have to change the filters on those things.
They should tell you.
They notify you.
It'll tell you. Like the filter itself should show like a little red light or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we have them throughout the house, but I didn't get them from microplastics. I got them because of mold. Because remember we had to move because of mold. So I have them throughout the whole house.
I mean, even more reason why though. I mean, because you're.
So I have one in every room of the house, constantly running.
I'm gonna have to beef that up in our house
all the time, constantly running all the time. But that brings me to another study that is now making the rounds. Some scientists are now saying that dementia may actually be autoimmune. It may actually be an autoimmune condition. Now, the reason why I think it's connected.
If that's the case, then wouldn't it be considered reversible or at least be able to improve?
Well, we do see this sometimes in some
Do we?
studies.
Somebody who's got dementia, sometimes you see it go back?
Not like that, but we do see improvements.
Improvements in their symptoms.
And what they think is that the beta amyloid plaques are really just because we're attacking the brain. Because now, the reason why I'm bringing it up now is if you're building up microplastics in the brain, that would lead me to believe that could trigger an immune response in the body to where the body then attacks the brain a little bit and can cause those types of issues.
How do you get rid of the microplastics in your brain?
I don't know. I don't think you can.
Fuck, bro, if it's there.
I think it's just stuff.
That's the thing. It's like in the study they're showing how many people with dementia they studied that had microplastics in their brain. They had more.
Yeah.
It was more volume. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Like they had no idea that was the case.
Well, so there's a couple of things. So with autoimmune issues, one is if you have a healthy microbiome, if you were born naturally, if you're breastfed, if you have pets actually are really good for children to grow up with. They see children who grow up on farms around pets have less
hormetic effect.
Yeah, because I think they're exposed to more things. Like ultra clean environments tend to cause autoimmune issues. Vitamin deficiencies can make things worse. Vitamin D, certain other nutrients. I'm not familiar with other ones, but vitamin D being one of them. So, I mean, and then, staying fit, strength training, not being overweight, all have these kind of protective effects on autoimmune issues. But, autoimmune issues is like one of the biggest issues in modern societies that just is exploding, that many of them didn't exist. That's the crazy part. A lot of them didn't exist. I know RFK was speaking to Congress and was kind of bringing this up, and what he said was true. Like 2 generations ago, like let's just talk about food allergies.
Yeah,
they
peanut
were
allergies.
rare.
Yeah.
Food allergies alone were rare. Psoriasis, asthma even was more rare. And asthma has been around for a long time. So, it's pretty crazy. You brought up the xenoestrogens.
Yeah.
One of the biggest offenders is cookware.
Yeah.
The company that we work with, Our Place, is amazing with this. Like they don't use forever chemicals, but you're not sacrificing the usability of their stuff. Because you could go cast iron, which is fine, but cleaning cast iron, some people are like, yes, it's tough. Have you guys used their stuff that doesn't stick or whatever?
Yeah.
It's just as easy to
Just
clean,
as effective,
just as easy to clean as the chemical
Without
stuff.
the chemicals on it.
Yes.
What do you know what they're actually using?
Is this ceramic then?
Yeah, ceramic.
Is that ceramic on there?
It costs a little more.
Is that why? Okay, I was going to say why it doesn't make sense to me because the product is as good or better.
You could buy a cheap Teflon pan, dude.
So that's what it is.
Yes.
So,
but their stuff is solid, and cookware. If you get good quality cookware, like it should last you a long. Like a cast iron.
they
skillet,
have
for
cast
example.
iron too, though.
They do.
Don't they?
Well, yes, the ceramic coating is on cast iron.
Okay.
And then they also have just cast iron without the coating, right?
I believe they do. I haven't checked on it.
But like cast iron is so like the longevity of it is so crazy. Like go get past.
they're lifetime.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
lifetimes.
My grandma's cast iron stuff we could still use in.
Yeah, you pass that on.
That's mostly what we cook on. It's rare that I don't use a cast.
Really?
Yeah, you use them for everything.
Even for scrambling eggs, or do you use?
Yeah, dude,
Wow.
yeah. Because they say what a little bit of the iron that gets in there is all good for you anyways,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's like I'm not really worried about
Yeah.
it.
But our place does a good job because I in the morning I make breakfast for everybody, and I have their version of a nonstick, and it's, bro, I wipe it with a napkin. It everything comes off.
I
Like
know.
super.
I was
easy.
wondering why it makes sense that it's going to be a little bit more expensive than what the regulars because it did make sense. Why wouldn't every company go that direction?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it's going to cost a little bit more to do that.
100%.
But their stuff is fire though.
It is.
I didn't realize how popular they are. I mean, I was unaware of the company until they introduced themselves to us. And I remember when I first started carrying it, like I have a bunch of family members that have already been purchasing from them for a long time.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize how big they are and how much they've grown.
It's like super well regarded with like chefs
In the health
like
space,
professionals in the health space,
Yeah.
precisely because of. And then I brought up microbiome for autoimmune issues. A couple things you could do for that besides the stuff you couldn't control. I brought up like how you were born and if you were raised with animals and stuff like that. But probiotics, like a really good probiotic, has been shown in many cases to improve the body's immune system. People think immune system and they automatically think making it more aggressive. Autoimmune issues are immune systems that are too aggressive.
Hyper aggressive.
Yeah, you want an immune system that is smart, that knows when to attack and when it's time to attack to take it out, and also knows when to back off. An immune system that's not good doesn't know when to attack or attacks when it's not supposed to. And probiotics or beneficial bacteria this is an easy way to improve that. You could take like seed. We work with seed. I mean, in my opinion, the best probiotic I've ever seen, just from the data and the people behind it and personal, just my own anecdote. But that's one way you could get a more balanced, smart immune system is you take that at night. That's it. Take 2 capsules every night.
Now, something like that, Sal, that's something that over time it builds up and gets better and better and better, right? It's not like one of those things because I think I've heard people like where they're like they'll try something like, oh, I didn't feel anything, it didn't do anything.
No, over time.
It's like, oh, you have to allow that good bacteria to build up over time to start to notice major differences.
Yes, and also there's a cumulative effect. It also balances out the other aspects in your gut. For example, fungal infections, right? So if you're, yeast infections or athlete's foot or whatever, when you have a balanced microbiome, those things don't happen nearly
Well,
as
you
much.
see, isn't it after you do like antibiotics and go
Yes.
through that, like a lot of times fungal it kind of takes over,
Oh.
like these fungal infections.
Oh,
Well,
when
I've never connected that before.
Oh, yeah,
Is-
antibiotics.
that makes sense. They've already connected that, right?
Yeah, so
Like,
I mean, like athlete's foot, right? Very common.
Yeah.
You're on antibiotics. It's very common to then get athlete's foot or yeast infection.
I remember I got athlete's foot when I was in high school as a kid, and now that makes me wonder: did I just come off of? I didn't obviously back then I wouldn't even have been able to connect those dots, but it would have been interesting to think because it wasn't something I had a lot or experienced with, but I do remember getting athlete's foot in high school. And it would be interesting if it was like right after like a doctor prescribed me antibiotics or not.
So here's why. What happens is you have a balance of bacteria and fungus in the body, and they check each other. So when you wipe out all your bacteria because you take an antibiotic's like a nuke, just kills almost everything. Then you have these opportunistic, fungus or other bacteria that then can take over. So like C. diff. Have you guys heard of C. diff before?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a deadly infection that you'll see in care homes where elderly people go on antibiotics, then they get C. diff and they die because it could definitely kill you and cause lots of damage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Anyway, speaking of damage, I got to tell you. So Justin was outside yesterday, out there filming his workout.
Whatever, dude.
Sorry.
I love the transition.
Hey, I know, isn't that great?
Damage.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Look, are you struggling to see results with your butt workouts? Are your glutes not responding? We have a secret to a great butt guide. Now, this gives you strategies, exercises, nutrition tips on how you can develop a great backside. You can download it for free right now by clicking on the link below in the description. So, Justin, can we talk about what you're doing?
I mean, yeah, let's talk about it.
He's shooting a series now, right?
Yeah, I'm going to shoot a series. Adam just finished up his, and so I was trying to think of something to do that I was interested in, and so I decided I was going to do like a performance of strength goal and just start to bring back a little bit of the intensity and get after it. I've been cruising for quite some time. So
Can we talk about what the goal is?
yeah, so it's the 315 push press. Like I'm trying to
350
overhead
pounds?
press.
Have you ever done that?
I've never done it.
Oh wow.
I've
What?
done 275. I've never done 315.
Of course, you're going to pick a goal you've never done before. Justin's like,
yeah.
he has two
That's not what I
speeds.
did. I was just like, I know, like, I could get that.
Well, you can't get me interested otherwise. I don't know. Like that's just how my mind works. And,
Wow.
Bro, 315 overhead push press is ridiculous.
yeah.
That's a lot, dude.
It sounds stupid.
Like, I don't know if I could bench that right now, let alone put it up above my head. So anyway, he started, bro, the contrast between, and I have my own, and you guys pick on me too, but you guys are both so funny. You had your series. People don't know. Adam did a series where he used to be an IFBB pro, lost all this muscle because he kind of got out of it.
Yep.
Then he's like, I'm going to gain some of it back.
gain the muscle back,
and I'm going to show everybody how
transform.
little work it takes if you do it right to do it. And so Adam's motto is always, do the least amount of work to elicit the most amount of change, which he definitely exemplified.
embodies it, right?
In his series, right? So he's outside, he'd be out there doing like, 2 exercises, right? And you go home, right?
Yeah.
And it worked. He built back 20-something pounds of muscle. It was great. But that's Adam's philosophy. Justin's philosophy
Yeah.
is the opposite.
How much can I take?
What's the most amount of work I can do? What can my body handle?
I mean,
He was out there beating the shit out of himself.
I see that's not true necessarily.
How do you
I
feel
think
right
that's
now?
your
I had
guys'
to-
perception. I actually prepped myself going into this ahead of time, so it wasn't like I was just doing the raw dogging from nothing to, all this volume, all of a sudden intensity. But I did. What got me the most was doing lunges, dude. I have not done lunges, and I can't tell you how long.
Yeah.
and so
They'll make you so sore, dude.
immediately as I went through those, I was like, ugh. My hamstrings were just screaming at me, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so stupid. Like, why am I so weak?
All I know is I walk out there and I'm listening. I can hear Justin talking to the camera because it's just, he's talking to the camera, talking
Yeah.
about what he's doing.
Yeah.
By the way, his series is going to be, they're both, yours was great to watch. His is going to be fun to watch too because Justin just, he's a legit animal. I mean, I'm going to give him like some props here. He's gifted athletically. I know you don't like it when we say anything good about you.
Yeah, don't say that.
But so he's a moose. Okay, so I overhear, right? So it's 45 minutes later. He started his workout maybe 50 minutes ago. Maybe I'm in here filming some green screen work with Doug, and I thought he was done, right? So I go out there and I hear him. I think I'm gonna. And he's talking to the camera. I think so. I think I'm gonna add something else. We should probably add more. Let's add this thing to. I'm like, oh my god,
Bro, I
You guys would be proud though.
I want to
Cut
know
out.
from Dylan how many mobility and exercises did he teach yesterday? Can you count?
He did do stuff with the mobility stick.
Oh yes, there was I saw at least 4 or 5
There
things
was
taught before I even left. There was like 4 or 5 things taught already.
That's just mobility, though.
and he
I
was just getting
prepping.
started.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, you're right. It was long winded, but and I'm learning from that. You know, that was my first stab at it. Because I was like trying to balance between explaining it and then also just doing what I do, and it's just so different for me because I'm just like I just go and like let's go. I'm gonna get after it.
Yes, you do.
And
That's why I said you
How
have
did
two
you?
speeds,
How did
bro.
you? So I found it because it was even new for me the way we did that format. How do you like that kind of format of like you're just they're kind of following you around the workout and you're kind of teaching as you go?
I thought I was gonna hate it, but it actually wasn't. It just reminded me of training somebody or like having a workout partner, kind of hanging out.
Talking
Yeah.
to them or
Yeah,
whatever.
so
I
it
felt
wasn't bad.
I felt it is more our style. That's why I liked it. I liked it because it's like when we have to, for the audience doesn't, maybe they know, I don't know, but like, when you shoot content, a lot of times it's like you go in with this goal of like, oh, you got to have this hook and then you got to this long.
Yeah.
And
Oh
it's
my
like,
God, yes.
and it's like,
We were trainers, dude, for years.
yeah,
right?
yeah. And
Media.
this is not a strength of ours, right? That's not how we didn't get into this. Like, can we go viral and figure out all the algorithm bullshit? It was just like, listen, we've been doing this for a long time. We're pretty fucking good at it. We've taught and helped a lot of people. And like, can we help others? Right. So that format of where you have to like shoot a video for YouTube in a short period of time and try and hook and do all the things is still this day, I hate it. It's my least favorite thing to do in the business. But the way we did my series and the way Justin's doing his series, it's more of this like follow me along and you get to kind of peer into
That's how you would talk to a client or
and that I liked. I really enjoyed that process more than I thought I was going to. So I was curious, and I know you hate the YouTube thing as much as I do, if not more.
Yeah.
So how did that feel doing it like that?
Much better. Yeah. Again, like you said, we've done a lot of different formats, and for me, it's always awkward because I'm trying to balance between like, hey, do I entertain you? Or am I teaching you something? Or I have to like provide some value. And this was nice because it was just like, well, this is why I'm doing this, and then it just kind of naturally came out in terms of personality or whatever. Like it was a little more relaxing in terms of like what. Them just kind of following me around and doing my thing versus me like I have to teach and then I have to have this hook and I have to have this. And
What's your push press now at? Do you have any idea what you could probably put
it's
above?
not even close to
Yeah.
315, but I could easily do 225.
Oh, you can get 225 right now?
Yeah.
Oh, why is he so strong? He didn't even do anything.
I couldn't do that. Right
So
now.
225, and you're going to try and get to 315. And how long do you? What do you think? Like 3 months, 2 months?
3 months. I'm giving myself 3 months.
Bro,
And-
if
and
you get even anywhere close, that's crazy. At 45
that's the
years old.
thing. Well, what's weird is, okay, this is, and again, I have adopted this philosophy, and it's not like, completely what I used to do. Like in terms of I just slam everything at once and just hope for the best. So I tried to actually write it out, and I actually tried to make sure that I'm like, here's my targets, here's my goal, here's my exercises I'm gonna focus on. This is the whole philosophy of the first month, and then here's the second month. And
You've already
here's-
done that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
so I was trying to kind of highlight that in the video, like this is why I'm doing this, and I'm just trying to really reinforce the structural support of my shoulder girdle. And so it's like everything I'm doing is like the function of the shoulder. Let's get stronger
Laying the
in all
foundation.
aspects of that. And
That's
then
why I saw you doing the overhead carries and stuff.
overhead carries, and I was doing isometric holds and one arm stuff with long lever, and so and then the next one's going to be a little bit more. I'm going to stress test that with some chaos training, so you'll actually see like bamboo bar, and you'll see
Oh, wow.
rubber band stuff where I'm like trying to do push-ups on top of it and like things like that actually make sense for
the goal.
for this goal.
Bro, it's going to be so rad.
Yeah, it's like it's different stuff we probably wouldn't even program in our MAPS programs. It's just very much like specific to this goal.
I bet a lot of people would love to PR an overhead push press. So of all the lifts someone can do, I just showed you guys a video today of someone, an Olympic lifter. Of all the lifts somebody can do in the gym that impress me, and they're all impressive, some more than others, being able to lift something over your head standing for me is just the greatest expression of like you're just strong. Like you could pick something up and put it up over your head.
Well,
yeah.
You just have a strong body.
Well, think about that. Okay, so
Yeah,
the
I love
overhead
it.
press, we call that the squat of the upper body.
Yeah.
And we know the reason why the squat is king is because of all the added benefits
Yes.
of that. And if you have a really strong squat, you've got probably pretty strong quads, pretty strong hamstrings, decent cat, like
Your back.
Yeah, your back, like your core, like you kind of get a little bit of everything with it. I think the same thing is included in why it's so impressive is that if you have a really, really strong overhead press, you can pretty much do everything else pretty damn good.
There's also something primal about
Translates
it.
a
If
lot.
you ask a kid, if a child were to demonstrate how strong they are, they would instinctively try
Pick
to
it up
lift
and
something
overhead.
above their head.
Yeah.
It's also the way that strength athletes always competed back in the day at the bronze era or whatever they call it of bodybuilding or strength training. That's how they competed. Who could lift the most weight above their head?
Above their head.
Yes, it wasn't how much you lift off the ground. It
Bench
wasn't how much you
presses were a thing. Yeah, honestly, I want to take back the whole like how much you bench like to overhead press because it's more. Honestly, I think it's more impressive to me.
Totally.
Because I've gotten decent with bench press, but it's just like that. It translates, but it doesn't translate damn near as much.
Nowhere
as
near.
overhead
It's just
press.
like I just said.
Not even
It's-
close.
No,
close.
if you get a 315 push press, benching is going to be like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to bench will be as a byproduct. Even if you don't even bench that much,
Listen.
during this process, you'll have a good
Listen,
bench
a guy-
from having that.
a guy that
where
could-
the other way is not true. You could have a 400-pound bench press.
You're not as strong
and
as
have
a
a
three-
shit overhead press.
Hey, you can listen. The guy who could push press 315 is stronger than the guy that can bench 405. I'll say that all day long, just generally speaking.
Oh yeah,
just generally
I
speaking.
I can get behind that.
Yeah.
By the way, so if the audience is trying to figure that out, a piece of that's like somebody who's squatting to leg pressing.
Yes.
So I tell him
Just in the
like,
real
I'll take
world.
a guy who could leg press 1,000 pounds, or the guy who could squat 400 pounds. It's like the guy who 400 pounds squat is better
Stronger.
than
Night
the
and day.
1,000 pound leg press guy.
Yep, 100%.
So, I mean, it's similar to that.
So when I was looking at the contrast between you guys, and I was laughing, just 'cause you're both amazing, and I was like, what would mine be? Mine would be, what can I take? what new thing can I take?
100%, that would be this guy. We
I would have been on the
today.
I would have been on the internet trying to
Since
find.
we're jabbing Justin and I, this
stop.
guy comes in today.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Listen, that was
if
my
you've
birthday
been
gift.
listening to the podcast long enough, okay, you've heard me and Justin probably tease Sal about his Lululemon bag.
No, it's not
What's in-
Lululemon.
what's in
It was-
Sal's
That's a
bag?
long time
That's
ago.
what it used
It
to be.
was.
That's what I'm
That was-
saying. I'm
okay,
referring.
okay. Yeah.
I'm talking about the progression
Oh,
here,
my bad.
so that the audience can
Okay, so
understand.
let's start with that. That's like this size right here.
Yeah,
right?
it's a little-
It's a little like handbag.
Yeah. So that's what it used to be, and then it became this like little tiny kind of duffel bag, like a little cooler and a little.
No,
bit
the
bigger.
Cellucor. Remember?
Oh yeah, the cellular bag. Your cellular
it's about
bag,
this size
and the
Man,
and
you
the
guys remember
mid size.
cooler.
Yeah, yeah.
And
feel
now
so
he comes
seen.
walking in today. So this the hormone and peptide stack has gotten so big now
not what's in
that we need a full size
It's a full
fucking
duffel bag, dude.
Like
That's not
With
what's
two
in there.
compartments
yeah,
on the
you can fit
outside.
two small children in. It is like now, and it was new. We saw it today.
You
and
can
I'm
hide
like,
kilos of cocaine
what
around
is
my
that?
God.
I'm like,
back.
bro, you have that many peptides you're taking? You need a
No,
duffel bag?
I don't walk around with peptide. Listen, my wife, kids got that for my birthday. It was my birthday yesterday.
I'm pretty sure you're keeping Transcendent business by yourself.
No, I didn't
It's
mean
good.
stuff.
I mean,
We're cutting into our margins.
Yeah, right.
They're going to lower our sponsorship.
like Sal's liabilities.
No, that
Yeah,
bag
money.
has my lunch in it, and it does have supplements in there. And my wife and kids got it for Father's Day. So now instead of 2 bags, I have 1 bag.
That's
with it.
nice.
Ppeaking of peptides, there are a couple in there.
What's in your stack?
You know, you could, so BPC 157, KPV, GHKCU, I'll explain what they all are. You can take them in oral form, capsule. So BPC 157, good for overall healing, recovery, most popular peptide. People typically inject it. If you take it orally, really good for the gut, but there's probably some also systemic effects. KPV, very good for gut health, so that's why it's a good capsule. And then GHKCU, skin and hair.
I didn't know that was in capsule.
You could take it in capsule form.
So
But
I have-
GHKCU is cool. But
So-
you ever inject that?
Yeah, because that was like the beast.
Yes,
Oh
I
my
have.
God.
That's why I stopped doing it. It was part of my protocol
Painful.
that they put me on for my psoriasis, and I couldn't stick with it. It burns.
Yeah, dude.
Even this tiny little bit of
Oh,
it.
yeah,
So I
bro.
totally bailed
You
on
got to
it.
like put it in hella slow.
I didn't know that I could take a pill. So I do. I had the BPC 157 and KPV in a pill together
That's it.
in the same pill.
That's what I got.
Yeah. I had,
So it's in one, and then I got GHKCU capsule. So yeah, that's in there among other things. The fuck? Sorry. All right,
Yeah,
whatever.
that is-
Hey,
That's all right.
I gotta say something exciting to the listeners. We're going to announce this for the first time ever. We kind of talked about this a little bit on the on earlier episodes, but now it's like official. So this year, and this is all within the company, and we've announced it a little bit again, but this is now official. One of our big focuses this year was to build a coaching training side of Mind Pump. For years now, people have asked us, okay, how do I find a good trainer? Why do I find a good online coach? And we've done episodes and talked about what to look for, red flags, how you know if someone's good or not good, and all that kind of stuff. But having our own coaches is just, it's an incredible amount of work. And to be quite honest, we have very high standards. And the last thing we want to do is have anybody represent us who's just not.
Oh, we've been slow playing this big time.
Yes.
To make sure the quality's there.
100%. So now we're officially going to say we have a few, but we're looking to grow this side, but we're not going to just take on anybody. So what we're going to do is give trainers, so in-person and online coaches, we're looking for both, an opportunity to intern with us for a few months to see if you're a good fit. And if you are, then you're going to work for it. You're going to work under Mind Pump, and it's going to be awesome. You have to be local though if you end up working for us. We don't want like people all over the place. We want people.
We need you in-house.
in the San Jose, California area.
Well, you can
if
be
get-
somewhere else as long as you're willing to move.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
So,
like the
yeah. I mean,
internship's
relocate.
different.
Cole moved. Marcelo moved.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So the
And
two
they're crushing.
the
Yeah,
two
they are.
trainers that
Both
we
of them
have
now full
already
books.
were relocated, interned first, and then we brought on. They're doing great. They're fully loaded. Again, we haven't talked a lot about it on the podcast, but we have been interviewing behind the scenes
Yep.
and looking for. This is the first time announcing it to our entire podcast that we're taking applications. And so that, I mean, obviously,
But it's basically a 90-day trial is what you can get the opportunity to be a part of. It's mindpumppersonaltraining.com/apply, right, Doug? So
Correct.
mindpumppersonaltraining.com/apply. You can apply there for that opportunity. But here's the deal, and I hate doing this. I'm not trying to sell this because here's what we don't want. I don't want prima donna. You're so lucky to have me. Get out of here. Working for Mind Pump means you get infinite leads. Like people want to hire coaches that work for us. So you got to be damn
Demand
good.
is there.
Okay, to be a part of it. We have the largest fitness podcast in the world. That the hardest part of your job would be basically easy with us. You just have to be a damn good coach and trainer. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So you
That's
can apply
exciting.
there.
transitioning different off-topic stuff. I've been wanting to bring this up because I saw this and was just so blown away. I think Justin saw it too. It was Magnus Carlsen. I think he's known as like the greatest chess player that's alive right now.
Oh, okay.
And maybe Doug can look him up as his age because I don't think he's that old. He's pretty young. But Harvard had him come in and he did this thing where he played 10 other really,
They're elite players.
elite
So
professor.
he's playing 10, going
10.
from table to table.
Yeah.
blindfolded, and he's not
Blindfolded.
turned around with his back to the chessboard.
How does he know?
So they described to him.
So he is having to memorize the moves
table.
without looking at it with 10 other great chess players.
Yeah.
Blindfolded. So it's like literally his back. They're
So
behind.
like queen to X5.
Yeah,
whatever
Yes,
his-
that's right.
Doing
and he's
all
doing
the
it
math in
with
his head.
10 of them simultaneously.
And did he beat
Destroyed everybody.
He just
Wow.
Bro, you know how crazy that is?
They're all
It's
standing
already
applause after
crazy
he's
to
done.
play 10 different boards at one time. To do that
He's
blindfolded.
34 years old.
To do it blindfolded and to have to memorize every move at everything is
He's a special
and,
mind.
I mean,
for
so
sure.
So one of the things that makes a master chess player so amazing is their ability to be thinking 10 moves ahead or more.
Oh,
right?
have you ever seen the math on how many potential moves there are?
It's astronomical.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's the most variables, I think, of any game, right?
That's why it's so crazy and impressive to be that good, to be that many moves ahead, to be playing elite players and to get them. Now do that blindfolded and do that with 10. That was crazy.
That's insane. Now, just to
Mind
take
blown.
it to another level, it's been a while now since a human has been able to beat a computer.
Yeah.
It's been a while. The first time, maybe Doug, you look it up. When was the first time a computer beat a master chess player? Since master chess players can't beat a computer.
Yeah.
They just can't. Computers are just that much because of the calculations involved.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, I think I feel like it's so unfair when you think about what the computer can do, right?
But that's crazy. That's such an interesting skill.
Holy cow, that's
Like an interesting talent that somebody has. The first time a computer beat a chess world champion was 1997.
And then since then, has it not has no one?
No, not now. Beating a like a master
You
computer.
beat the Apple IIe or whatever. Yeah.
That's
That
have you guys
seems
seen? Have you seen the studies? I brought this up, but I want to confirm it. Doug, look up how many calories does a master chess player burn?
Oh, it's crazy how many.
Is it true though? I want to make sure it's true.
well, I mean,
Because they're not moving,
It
but they're
seems
burning.
true, yeah, because I've heard that, like the kind of like intensive intellectual processing, that takes a lot of calories.
What?
Well, you already know the brain.
Chess grandmasters can burn up to 6,000 calories per day while playing in a tournament.
Wow.
That's crazy because they're not
insane.
moving; they're just thinking.
That's funny. I never hear that highlighted about their diet, and like how much they're eating before these tournaments or anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
Is that?
So
Someone
this-
says that's not true.
Like,
That's
it
Reddit.
can't. So here's the thing: it can't be true, or it's misrepresented
jeez.
because their body is adapting to that.
that's so many
As you
calories.
get better and better. So what that is based off of, Sal, is the formula where we talk about how many carbohydrates the brain needs to
Yeah.
function a day. You take something like that, then you compute it by how much harder the brain is working when you're playing a chess. Now, what that is not factoring in is that chess player's ability to adapt to that over days and
Yeah,
months and
of
years.
course.
And so the body, just like
Yeah.
running on a treadmill,
adapted to it,
yeah,
yeah.
just it's just like the
'cause when I-
Hadza,
'cause when
like
I
the
do-
Hadza drive.
When I do basic algebra, I know I'm burning a shit ton of calories in my brain. So I'm like,
It's a
what's
struggle.
happening? You know.
But over time, the body would just like
tense up.
the Hadza tribe study is that they.
You got to mute that, Doug. Yeah. Yeah.
You should look up did you not look up the Magnus Carlsen Harvard?
He did.
Did you guys see it?
Yeah. That's wild. That you could be so good at something. You know that they say that about what is it? Programming. Computer programming.
Yeah. There's like a small percentage of like that could do.
He's like, there's Michael Jordan. Not he. I've heard them say that they're like Michael Jordans of like where one person is better than 30
100
or 100. Oh, is it 100?
No, it's 100.
Wow.
They're considered better than 100 other engineers. Did you listen to that? Did you ever finish that Chamath interview?
No.
It was really good.
Did he say that?
Yeah, they talked about that. He actually talked about how much California is fucking up, and that in the Silicon Valley, a majority of those, like basically the Michael Jordans of engineering there, and we're losing people like that to other places by not being an attractive place to live, both for tax purposes and all the other bullshit that's going on. And so he's talking about like how stupid that is of us to not create something that makes the Michael Jordans of engineering want
use
to
their talent.
Especially, everything is here. We're building them up through all these like colleges in the
That's
area.
awesome. I want to hear about your Uncle Rico moment, Justin, because you had that.
Yeah, I mean, and this kind of did fuel into the series, like, and why I guess, like I'm trying to go more into performance goals. I was sitting at my son's practice for basketball, and I've been attending like all his practices and games and everything whenever I could, and I'm just sitting there. I'm the only like parent in there, and they're practicing. There's another team that's practicing on the other side of the court, and I know the head coach of that team from high school, and he's like a year younger than me or whatever, and so they didn't have enough for like 5-on-5, and so the coaches were like, oh well, we're gonna jump in and play and kind of and we'll run the court with 5, and so the other coach and the team was just like my friend Rob, he's just like, oh, why don't you get the legend in there to
Talking about
play?
you?
Yeah, and I'm just like, dude. No, I'm good, dude. I'm just sitting here watching, and he's like, no, this guy.
You were a legend at your high school.
He was, but not like in basketball. Like I played basketball, and I was good, but I wasn't like a legend. Dude. My other friends were way better than me, but it was just funny because he was just like my son's coach was like, "Oh, you used to play? I would have never guessed." And I was like, "You'd never guessed." That hit me, a little bit. I was like, "You want to watch me throw this ball over a mountain?" Like I almost got up there, get ready to like show him what time it was, but it obviously like I kind of like chilled out, but I was like, I got to work on this. Like I got to get back at least some, skill to where like I move in a certain way where like, oh wow, you must have been an athlete. Like I don't get that ever.
I think that's less that you don't look like an athlete. You don't look like a basketball player. You're not built like a basketball
true.
player. You look like an athlete.
You look like a football player.
Yeah,
I
you
went
look
through
like
phases.
you look like an ex-athlete.
your big
but
ass and big
It's
head.
not like
You
you
look like
think
a
of a,
football player.
a basketball player. You think
That's a
of
good point.
long and lanky. And
Yeah.
You don't think of like somebody who's. Which dude, that's so crazy
That's
to me
funny.
when you think about the NBA and the body types. Someone actually had this really interesting video. That was talking about Muggsy Bogues versus Wembanyama.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and what is crazier? And actually, the guy made an incredible argument that I had never really thought about because this is what he's doing is unreal. The 7'6",
Yeah.
crossing
He has
over the
handles like a small point guard.
He handles the ball. He shoots.
But he also looks like a basketball player.
So he actually makes a point that Muggsy Bogues is way more impressive. He's like, when have you ever seen another 5'3" guy in the NBA?
Dunk.
And when will you ever see it again like that? That was so
crazy.
so unprecedented how small he was and how good he was for how small he was. What you're seeing, Wembanyama is just the natural evolution of the game. We just keep seeing taller, and so he was making the case on that. That's not more impressive. He's like, in 10 more years, he's like, we're gonna have the NBA is gonna be full of Wembanyama. All these 7-foot+ guys that all can handle and shoot.
Yeah, that is true. I don't know
I
if
know,
we'll
I-
ever see that again.
Exactly. He's like, you'll probably never see ever
Spud
again.
Webb, how tall was he?
Spud and Muggsy Bogues.
Kinda
I think
close.
Muggsy was the shortest. I think at
Yeah.
5. And Doug can check me here.
Was he really 5'3"?
Yeah.
That's so short.
What?
Yeah. I think.
He's short for any sport.
Yeah.
Not just basketball.
Yeah, and he was good.
He's
was
a horse
great, He was a
jockey.
great defender. He could dunk the ball. Like
He
he
could.
was.
I couldn't believe he could dunk. Like,
Yeah.
that just blew my mind.
That's got to look like a crazy.
Yeah. Are
You guys
you
ever
So yeah, Muggsy was 5'3".
5'3" was Muggsy.
Oh
I
my
think
God.
Spud Webb was close to that.
Can't
Probably like
5'3" 's
5'5" or
crazy.
something.
Hold on.
Spud Webb.
5'6".
I'm trying to sing is stuck.
Even if he was 6 foot, that's like small.
Oh
in the
yeah. I
NBA.
mean, your
Bro,
point.
if you're 6 foot in NBA, you're tiny.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's so. I mean, like Curry, who's a small point guard, is 6'3".
yeah.
You know, and you think, when you look at him in comparison, you think he's little, but then if you're ever standing next
He's
to
a
him,
big guy.
he's
Yeah.
big.
Yeah,
He's big as me, if not bigger.
Yeah.
Like you think of that, and you're like, wow, it's such a
He was 5'6".
5. Okay,
5'6".
so Spud
Yeah.
was a little bit taller, but Muggsy Bogues was 5'3". Dude.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you ever have a client like that? Years ago, I had these people that I trained. They brought me their daughter. She was a 13-year-old gymnast, and she looked like a 13-year-old kid. And I'm like, so what do you do, in gymnastics and whatever? And she was like, oh, I can do pull-ups and this and that. I said, wow, you can do pull-ups? I mean, 13-year-old, girl doing pull-ups is pretty good.
Yeah.
I said, let me see. And she jumps on the bar, and she grabs the bar, and she puts her legs out straight in front of her. So she's not like hanging her leg. She puts her legs straight in front of her.
Like
and
L sit?
This is the speed of the pull-up that she did with the same look on her face.
Yeah.
Like I'm like
strict and
bro,
everything?
yeah,
Wow.
she just like she could have just done this for an hour and a half. I remember being like, what is
Little
happening?
gymnast.
Yeah,
That's sick.
dude.
So
pretty
wild.
incredible.
So wild.
Joy Mode is a pre-sex supplement. It literally includes ingredients that improve blood flow, have been shown to improve libido, erection firmness. It's a good time. By the way, I like to take Joy Mode pre-workout because more blood flow is good for working out as well. So it's good for both. Workout in the gym, workout in your bedroom. Go try them out. Go to Joy Mode or tryjoymode.com/mind pump. So tryjoymode.com/mind pump. Use the code mind pump. Get 20% off your first order. All right, back to the show.
First question is from Enzo D158. What are the best mobility movements for someone sitting at a desk for 8 hours
Oh, yeah.
or
This is
more a
good-
day?
This is a good question. Well, let's first talk about what we would be trying to address, right? You have somebody who has shortened hip flexors and they're in a seated position, right, at 90 degrees.
Zero core activation.
Right. So no core activation. Forward shoulder, forward head, and no sort of movement in outside of the sagittal plane, right? So you're going to address those things.
Yeah,
So,
I'm going to make a slightly controversial
let's hear
statement,
it.
but I'll back it up. I think what's more important than the mobility movements that you do when you're sitting at a desk for so long is that you do them throughout the day. I think that's the most important thing. In other words, if you did one movement every hour or every other hour, you would get incredible benefits just from getting up and moving, and then of course picking the right movement. I like the wall test. I love the wall test. I like something on the floor.
90-90s.
90-90.
90-90s in a wall test will cover pretty much everything.
I think if you stood up from your desk every hour and spent 5 minutes doing a wall test and then sat back down And then again, an hour later, got on the floor, did 90-90 for 5 minutes, got back in your desk. I think if you did that every hour or every other hour, you would get exceptional benefit from both blood sugar level, mobility, pain.
I agree.
And here's how I'll sell it. I bet you'll be far more productive at your desk.
Oh yeah,
easily.
Way more focused, way more creative.
I think that's the part that I think to sell that to the the white collar person who's asking a
like
question,
taken away from their job.
Yeah, like, oh well, that's 5 minutes every hour. That's an hour less of work I get in all day, right? That's crazy. Why would I do that? Well, no, you'll be more productive in the hour, so you'll get as much, if not more, done and be taking care of your body. So yeah, I get behind. To me, you wouldn't want to do everything. I think that you think is great for that person. You'd want it as simple as possible.
Very simple.
Those ones you guys mentioned probably best. I mean, I would have just maybe added a windmill in there, just for that added plane of motion.
Windmill's easy too. I mean, well, not an easy movement, but easy in the sense that you just stand up.
You just stand up and then you get in position.
You just do it right there in position. But a little bit of movement every hour is a wonderful remedy because sitting for that long is so unnatural. It's not even funny. And building muscle is protective, but it's not 100% protective. And I know what this feels like because although we're not sitting down for 8 hours, we're sitting down for at least 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I work out 5 days a week, and I feel it just from sitting in here. And what do we get up and walk once a day?
I have to do it to unwind from this.
It's crazy. But I bet you if companies employed this, I bet you they would see improvements in productivity.
I wish companies
and healthcare cost savings.
I know. I wish you could get companies to get behind something like this because you would be doing your people so, and it would come back to the company. And
they would save money.
They would. It's unfortunate that we haven't figured this out, because you get more productivity. They would be less sick. It would be better all experience, but unfortunate that we
There's some cultures did this before.
Isn't it like China and Japan?
Japan.
Yeah.
Not they didn't know, wasn't to for mobility. It was just, I think it was more like team building or how we get the day started. But if I'm not mistaken, because you live there, Doug, wasn't that like in some traditional companies, all the employees show up at the same time and do
first thing in the morning.
Calisthenics, stretching, that type of thing.
Yeah, before they start working.
Yes.
And it was really, the goal wasn't to make you more fit, it was to improve productivity.
I'm sure. The companies are all about that, right?
That's their motivation for sure.
But of course, the benefit was everybody got more flexible and.
Did you ever work at a company that did that over there?
No, I did not.
Okay.
But I did see it. I remember actually going by a Mercedes dealership and all the employees are outside doing their stretches.
See?
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, it'd be so cool to see that here in the States.
You know why you wouldn't get lawsuits? Huh? You'd probably get lawsuits here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're making me stand up and move? I hurt my back.
I know. Or somebody who can't do that exercise or something like that.
It's
discriminating. Not inclusive.
Discriminating.
Yeah.
Great.
Next question is from Bree Miller. I am training for a Hyrox. What MAPS program would best be for that?
MAPS OCR?
Yeah. Well, so Hyrox, for people who aren't familiar, when I first saw Hyrox.
Oh, I just found out about it recently.
Yeah,
Really?
it looked to me like an answer to CrossFit, kind of. So it's like indoor racing that incorporates.
Just like it.
Yeah, except
they
what's
just
the
took
difference?
some events out. And
They're
they made it consistent.
No,
trying to make it safer
literally.
and-
It's not even that. It's
Really?
Just, it's just that
Let me look
they
at
can't
the-
they can't brand it as CrossFit, so it's a competitor. That's all. Don't you guys remember when we had our boy on? Why can't I think of his name? He's hilarious. Oh my god.
Hunter.
Hunter McIntyre.
Oh,
Hunter McIntyre.
does he compete?
Yeah, he's got one of the records for them. He would last time he was on our show, he was getting ready for a Hyrox event.
Oh, it was Hyrox.
Yeah. He's so. It's and then
So
also the young girls that we had here, there was 3 of them, the 2 blondes. What were they here for? I can't remember what they were here for, but 2 of them were big Hyrox girls that were into it. So we've met quite a few people that.
So
compete in it.
here's the formula.
Tell me it's not CrossFit though, right? I mean,
it's similar, very
I
similar.
mean, they used wall ball and
There's a 1,000 meter ski erg. That's the cardio machine with the ropes. Then I think you do a 1 kilometer run. Then you do a 50 meter sled push, then a run, then another 50 meter sled push, then a run, then burpee broad jumps, then a run, then rowing, then farmer's carry, sandbag lunges, wall balls, typically broken up by some type of a run.
so no Olympic lifts.
No, I don't see any here.
Yeah, that might be a big.
That's I think the big
advantage
difference.
for
I
them.
think so. To be clear, if you want to get good at this sport, you need to practice the sport.
Yeah.
if you wanted to add something to that kind of training, because there's two ways to answer this. One is I want to get in that kind of shape, but I don't care about competing in high rocks. In which case, MAPS OCR is the way to go.
Yes.
If you're like, I train for high rocks, now I want to add a strength training component to it to help me, MAPS 15 Performance would be the way I would add it. MAPS 15 Performance added to this style of, where you're practicing the events, I think would be the perfect.
That would make sense.
It's such a good point for the audience to understand that when someone asks about high rocks or even CrossFit, it's similar to when someone asks about basketball or
it's
football.
a specific sport.
Yeah, it's a specific sport with specific movements and things that they need to do. Nothing is going to get you better at that sport than doing that sport more often. But if you said things like, hey, I just want to get in that kind of shape. Well, that was like, those that don't know, MAPS Performance, the original reason why we created that was it was the first program we all did together, and it was in response to a lot of shit talking we did about CrossFit early on. So we talked a lot about what we didn't like about it. Was obviously it was in the heat of it being so popular and growing, and we were out there saying that, listen, the programming sucks, not a fan of it at all, and then people started to call us out. Well, if it sucks, but I appreciate all the attributes I get from it, how would you guys program something to get those attributes without all the things you don't like about it? That's the birth of MAPS Performance. MAPS Performance was somebody who likes all those attributes that you get from CrossFit workouts, but better programming.
Now let's train it all in blocks and do that very specifically.
Now, Doug, can we do something real quick? And you can cut this out if you don't want to, but can we get a 50% off code for either one if someone's listening right now and they're interested in either program just for this episode?
Sure.
All right. So as we go along here, why don't you get those codes and then we can tell people what they are, unless you know.
Okay. Well, I have to make it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. All right, let's go with the next question.
we could include that with the other code we did, the half off. Just use that half off.
Same one?
And I can just include these programs.
Okay, so the code is half off.
Yes.
Half off, and you'll get half off MAPS OCR, MAPS 15 Performance if you're listening to this right now.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Also, we have a special in February, MAPS Anabolic and the No BS six-pack formula together. These programs were actually created to be run together. Great for building muscle, boosting metabolism, burning body fat. Get them both of them, for $59.99. You can check them out at mapsfebruary.com. All right, back to the show.
All right. Next question is from Jamie Yoska. My neck and upper traps are tight every time I try to do your mobility stuff like wall slides, which might be wall circles, and handcuffs with rotation. It makes it worse. What should I do?
So just because you're doing a movement doesn't mean you're doing it right.
Yes.
So this is why it's so important. If you have
Cues are very important.
they're referring to MAPS Prime Pro, right? So it's so important you watch the video and listen carefully to the cues and follow along and do it perfect. If it's making you feel worse, it's because you're activating muscles wrong.
Yeah.
You're moving in a way that, and it may look similar, but it's all about the intention.
I can tell you exactly what this person's doing when they do this. They already have
tense.
they already
Yeah,
have
their head
these
protruding.
elevated tight traps,
Yep.
and then they go to the movement, and then they just work it more.
Yep.
And
They're
they're
reinforcing it.
And instead of taking the wall circle to where they feel where the traps want to engage, and then try and
depress
the shoulder and actually stay there, which is what we teach, is like, hey, when you feel those sticking points, you stay there and you try and work, and you don't go further than that because
you squeeze more intensively right when you hit that sticking point. To what you're talking about, like that's a huge cue in doing wall circles, because we're not trying to force it through this range of motion, because what we're doing is we're reinforcing those bad patterns, and so to work on it, it's a progressive way to work on it. So you have to get to those points, squeeze, pause, do it really slowly and intentionally, and then back off, and then do it again. And then you systematically do this, you get improvement.
This is a great question to point this out, because this is this is where people go wrong with mobility exercises. And this again is why we put so much energy and effort into the teaching of it, like the webinar that I've done and Prime Pro and the cues and so that is because if you're trying to do mobility to work on better patterns, but then you watch a video and you just do it, and then your body torts and moves and like does all this stuff just to complete the movement, you're not doing yourself any favors. You're only making the situation worse, which is what this person is talking about. I'm doing your wall circles and it's making my traps work. Well, that's right, because you're engaging the traps like crazy when you're doing it, when they should be in a place where they should be depressed and down and back.
Yeah.
And so that is, and it's going to take time to get to a place where you can engage. If I got on right now and did wall circles, I can't complete a full wall circle without deviating. So what you would end up seeing me do is I would do it, and then right when I get to the top and my body would want to twist, I would get stuck in that state, and I would work that and connect and then try and get a fraction.
And if you can't, you stop there.
That's right. And then you progress like that, where people see the movement and they just do it the way their body wants.
They're forcing
to do
it. The two points I would make are, one is you try the movement until you can't do it without doing it perfect, and then you stop. That's your range of motion. Don't go beyond that, because now you're compromising technique. You're making things worse. The second thing, and this is something that if you watch the videos is cued, but people forget, is what you do with your head and your neck while doing these movements. Yeah. If I'm doing a wall circle and I'm doing this with my head and looking up and I'm pinching back, I'm going to cause issues in my neck and my traps. I have to elongate my spine. I have to make my head tall and create a little bit of traction in my spine as I'm doing the movement. Otherwise, I can cause problems in the neck area as well. And that's true for all those upper body movements.
I mean, this is where like having somebody observe and outside eyes are really, I mean, that's something that I would seek out, at least even for just an assessment with a trainer or a coach somewhere in a gym, to watch you do it. And then they can actually kind of point these things out for you. Or, if you're in the forum, you send the video, and then we can help kind of describe what's going on a little more effectively for you.
This is an example. I just did this when I had my injury, and I asked for Kyle, not because I don't know how to do the movement perfect, but even all my experience of knowing what I need to do and how the movement's supposed to be performed, I can't see every little detail, and having another pair of eyes watch me do it. And so again, if this is something you really want to get better at, it's worth investing in having somebody. And maybe you don't buy, maybe you have a friend or a spouse or someone that can be those second pair of eyes, but you really pay attention to every bit of the entire body, and you're trying to focus on that when you go through these movements.
Next question is from Little Danny 1007. What's the difference between prebiotics and probiotics? Should you be taking both? Thoughts on prebiotic sodas? Are they worth it?
Probiotics are bacteria. So beneficial bacteria, or what you would put in the category of probiotics, like Seed. We talked about Seed earlier in the episode. It's one of our partners, and they have a very good probiotic that you take that gives you that beneficial bacteria that produces all those great benefits that you hear about, with like better digestion, skin health, in some cases reduced anxiety, reduced inflammation. Okay. Prebiotics are just the things that that bacteria feed on. So there's certain starches and fibers, for example, that beneficial bacteria will use to feed on to encourage their flourishment or to keep them alive. Prebiotic sodas use these beneficial fibers that also have a sweet taste to them. So what they're doing is they're making a tasty soda that's low in sugar, that has some of this fiber that also tastes good, that also, hey, this also feeds beneficial bacteria. So it's like this great kind of combination of things. But like if you eat fiber, you eat vegetables, you eat fruit, some starches, you are consuming prebiotics that these bacteria
need. I think they're great. We used to work with a company called Olipop. They were a sponsor of the show for quite some time, and we're not sponsored, not because I don't think it's a great product still. It's just sometimes that happens with business and what they're focusing on advertising wise and where we're currently at. So I think I think it's a better alternative to like diet sodas or regular cola. So it's already a better alternative. And then it has some positive health benefits to it, for the point you're making with prebiotics. And so I think they're great. I think they're a great replacement to sodas.
100%. Look, if you like the show, come find us on Instagram. Justin is at Mind Pump Justin. I'm at Mind Pump DeStefano, and Adam is at Mind Pump Adam. All right, I know you liked that episode. If you did, check this one out. 30% body fat. For men, this is way too high. This is actually a bit high for women as well. So in today's episode, we're talking about how you can go from 30 to 10. What is 10% body fat? This is when you have a visible six-pack. Can you go from 30 to 10%? Yes, it's possible, but not if you guess along the way. So we're going to talk about how you can do that in today's episode.
Now, there's a huge range, right, of like body types.
Yes.
Some people can run a little bit heavier or a little bit higher body.